Welcome to episode 25. This is Loansanddrones, and I am Bill Pendley. I'm here with the Rishawn Boone. He is amazing. We've been dying to have him on the show, and he found time to come and meet us today and talk over his business model and what he's doing to rock. I mean, let's just be honest. He's got 85,000 followers on Instagram, and he's just a natural in front of the camera. So get ready. We're going to get into this right away. Let's go. Rishawn, how are you?
I'm outstanding, man. I'm awesome. Super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. You just made my day. So now we're going to get going.
You're welcome.
Oh, by the way, I just want to give you this.
What do we have?
That's my cookie. There you go. There you go. Yeah, I figured since, you came out, this is what my wife made for my 50th birthday, so you get a piece of me.
I wish you guys could see this. Normally people in the business, they give you something with their brand, their logo. You get Bill. It doesn't get better than that.
Giving you a toast? What
it doesn't get better than that. And I'm going to eat it.
There you go. So every time you take a bite, you're just reminded of
how you.
I love it.
Oh, Bill tastes so good. Okay, go ahead.
Whoa. So how are you doing today?
Oh, I am awesome.
You got a busy day?
I'm busy.
Yeah.
But that's good. It's better than the latter.
Yeah, of course. And it's like the time we're filming this is right during the December month. We're going to rock this out in January. And you got some big things happening this month with Rishawn Boone, right?
I do.
What's going on?
I do. We are doing our grand opening for a company in Oak Brook, Rishawn Boone Realtor. So that's happening in the latter part of December. Of course, you guys will probably see this after that grand opening. And so we're propelling our new company, coming up with some new innovative processes and innovative concepts as it relates to real estate. And so we're calling this new business the future of real estate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what does that look like when you say future of real estate? What is it? I know you're already way ahead of everybody else as far as the social media and the branding. Mm-hmm. So what more can you do?
So what I've learned, what more can I do? What I've learned is to do less and become more. And I wish people would do a lot more of that. Yeah. So when people are like, okay, I'm doing this. And I think doing is the activity, right? And a lot of times people are saying, well, what I'm doing is not working, so let me do more. Let me work harder. And I've learned that doesn't bring you success. It just brings you exhaustion. And I think the becoming of, who you are, it is ideas flow through identity. And so the ideas in this new business is coming from the identity. It's coming from my morals. It's coming from the servant leadership that I practice as it relates to how I work in the business. And so when I say we're coming up with some innovative concepts, it is going to shake up the industry a little bit because, we were told that you can only do business this, one. I've been in a lot of rooms with, some high profile people, some execs in real estate. And I've heard oftentimes we do business the way we do business. You can only do it this kind of way.
Right.
And so we're going to shake it up a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always heard okay, do not reinvent the wheel. Just follow the template. But you're breaking the wheel entirely, right? You're saying, I'm doing it my way. And I wish I would have heard that back at the very beginning of my time in the industry. So I've been doing mortgages for about 26 years. And I've always been kind of put under that bar because I've followed everybody else's template versus letting your wings spread and flying. Yeah. And that's what you're doing. You're going, screw this. It's going to be Rishawn Boone. That's my brand. You got an amazing brand. And what you're doing is you're flying. And this is a level up moment, right?
The world is full of copy and paste.
Yeah.
The world is full of it. We don't need another version of anything else or another version of anyone else. And I think that it does people a real disservice to say, okay, Bill did it this way, so let me examine the way Bill did it and let me emulate that. Let me do that.
Right.
No, Bill did it that way because that is who Bill is. It worked for Bill.
Right.
And versus saying, okay, let me see who I am and let me do, try to figure out how I can make a mark in an industry that is very overly saturated, as
sure,
we know.
Of course, yeah.
And also provide elite service to the public. So yeah, I'm a big component on, individualism, organic,
Right.
being you, and
Right.
let the world adjust.
Was there anybody that influenced you though? That kind of inspired you to be Rishawn Boone? Well, who would that be?
Of course. So I have a lot of family that has inspired me, but Quincy Jones.
Really?
Yes.
God rest his soul, right?
God rest his soul.
Come on.
I had a hard time when he passed.
Really?
My wife ran into the room, was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what's going on? I'm just working right now." She was like, "You haven't heard?" And I'm like, "No." She's like, "Quincy Jones passed." Let me tell you this. I love Quincy Jones so much that when my wife and I were expecting our first child, it was a given. I was like, "We know what we're naming him." And I was like, "We're naming him Quincy." And she was like, "I do not want my son to sound like a broke musician." I was like, "Wait, what?" Time out. Flag on the play. And so it broke my heart.
Wow.
We didn't name him Quincy. We named him Micah. But
Okay.
yes, so Quincy Jones, I think that he had the mind of a genius.
Yeah.
The way that he functioned, the way that he worked, the way he interrupted, patterns, the way that he interrupted industries. I just thought he was a genius.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
he was one of my biggest inspirations just from a business mindset. But yeah, there's a lot of people who have made, investments into who Rishawn is.
Right.
The biggest one is God. I'm
Yeah.
just keep it a buck with you.
Yeah.
This is who I've leaned on to understand more about who I am and what I'm designed to do
Right.
on this earth. And so that's really is my biggest inspiration.
It's so amazing you say that. And people, like, you ask questions, right? And people have been so transparent on this show. And believe it or not, it always leads back to God.
Yeah.
At most, like, what would you guys say that? Like, most of the conversation we have goes back to the faith.
I'm gonna tell you, man, I've seen a lot in my life. I've experienced a lot in my life. One thing that's been consistent is God. One thing that I'll never waver on is my relationship with Christ, which is why when people usually ask me, what do you do? Who is Rishawn? Tell me about Rishawn. And the first thing that I say is I'm a child of the King.
Wow.
Like I'm like that, what I do doesn't define who I am. It's, and so I've experienced so much in my life, and in times of adversity, it is so cool to be able to go back to the author. I'm 35 years old. So I am in chapter 35 of my life, and I have a connection with someone who knows the entire book. So in times where I'm like panicking and I'm like, okay, how's this going to work out? I'm like, just go back to the author. Like,
sure,
hey, look,
sure, yeah.
I'm having trouble in this chapter. I don't understand. And it always works out.
It does.
Oh, man, it always works out. So, yes.
Well, I mean, especially, like, let's be honest, 2024, everybody is talking about the elections, which we're not going to go in the political world, but that's one of those things where I've recently have had conversations with people saying, are you really going to trust in a man? Or are you trusting in something else?
Yeah.
Like, what are you trusting in? Like, because a man's not going to, every man's going to, I'm going to fail you.
Yep.
You're going to fail me.
Yep.
It's just the way we're designed.
Yep.
But there is the consistency of God, who is Alpha, Omega.
Yep.
And you just know.
Never failing, consistent, and it feels so great to be able to know that you have a rock that you can lean on. Like it's always there. It never wavers.
Yeah.
And so, which is why when I said that I do less and I focus on becoming more, I focus more on who am I? What is my identity? And that's actually the blueprint for my business.
Yeah.
So at the core of my heart, I'm a servant leader.
Mm-hmm.
I usually call myself just a servant.
Right.
Because of the Emancipation Proclamation that doesn't come out well. Saying, are you a servant?
Yeah.
So I'm not a slave. I'm a servant leader.
Right.
Which simply means that in my business, where normally you have the top guy at the top, and then you have, managers, execs, and, supervisors, and then the workers, I flip it upside down. I'm at the bottom. Like I'm at the bottom, and I'm literally holding everyone else up, giving them the tools that they need to be successful. You know,
I like
you'll
that.
probably never see me in a Ferrari, in a Maybach, in a McLaren. Nothing's wrong with that. That's just not that's not the vision that I have for myself. I'm in a place where I'm like, okay, how can I serve more?
Yeah.
How can I give more? How can I do more?
Right.
How can I pour more into, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because not to preach, but you may be the only Bible someone ever reads.
Sure. Yeah.
They may never pick up that book, but if they look in your life, they're like, what do I see?
Right.
Like if I examine your life, what do I see? And so that's the goal for my life, and that's the goal for, you know, what we're doing with this business.
Well, I think that so many people forget the big C word, which is character.
Yeah.
Like, that just tells you the quality of person you are as far as character goes.
Yep.
And so many people that we've seen in leadership roles are all about me. We were talking about this on, you know, about an hour ago. Like, it's literally like when you're putting yourself in the front and you're pushing everybody else in the back, how can they respect you and follow that leader? Because the leader is a lonely road, believe it or not, a servant leader,
100%.
especially, because you have to humble yourself, pull back your own sinful nature, which is me, right? And you have to give back to other people. So what does a day look like when you say servant leader to like people that you work with? What like give me an example of that? Like what would be an example?
So I always start my day before I work. I start with devotion. I start just by giving thanks for the day. And then I'm a husband and I'm a father first. I'm a husband and I'm a father first. And so I make sure my wife is good. I make sure my kids is good. It makes no sense to be a public success and a private failure. Like I can't be providing homes for everyone else and then I'm never in mine. So
wow, that's really good.
I take the time to, you know, I get my kids ready. What do you need for school? I'm at ballet, recitals. I'm at piano recitals. I'm at basketball games. I make sure I make time for my wife. So my day starts by devotion. I make sure my family is good. And then I examine, I examine my week. I plan out my week. And then I look at my day and say, okay, how am I going to best maximize this 24 hours? Because I have the same 24 hours that Bill does, a Elon does, a Warren Buffett does, a Jeff Bezos. How can I best maximize this opportunity that's going to yield me the greatest return? And how can I be the Bible for someone else, right? But one thing that I've also learned that I can't want something more for someone than they want for themselves.
Right.
So and let me see if I can tell this story. There was a young lady who wanted to come work at our brokerage. And so I was talking to her, okay, what's your plan? She was with another broker. She was telling me what her plans were going to be and what she wanted to focus on. I was like, okay, cool. Let's circle back in a month. She was like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, let's circle back in a month. I want to see in that interim what she told me, was she living it out? Because if you say that this is the lane that I want to be in, this is what I want to focus on, this is what I want to dominate on, I want to pour gasoline on an already lit fire. I want to be able to say, okay, you got the sauce, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, versus, where I have to give, because I already have 2 kids. I don't want another liability,
Right.
And so I want to be able to assist you with what you need. So that's my day, trying to figure out how can I best maximize that 24-hour period that I was blessed to see. And then also making sure that I don't waste time wasting time.
Sure.
Because you'll if you want something more for someone than they want for themselves, you're doing yourself a disservice, them a disservice. Yeah.
That is huge. Like, we're in the process of building our team too. And the last thing, and I gotta reframe my message to sound more like yours, because the way I look at it is I go, I just don't want to cancer in the autonomy of the group.
Yep.
Where we're already starting to see like a very good group where everybody's humble.
Yep.
Everybody's willing to pitch in. Everybody's on fire. I had one group one time when I tried building before, and we always had one gentleman which would say, I just don't see it that way. I'm like, everybody else is on fire, and then you get this one person that brings down the rest of the group. You have to
go see it somewhere else. Okay,
exactly.
Move closer to the door if you don't see the vision.
Right. It's like slow to hire, quick to fire, right? And I think that you're doing that very well as far as you have your vision, you're articulating your message, like with regards to this is my goal. In fact, like what we just shot earlier was how do you create a plan for 2025? And you already have that, right? So like, what is your plan look like? When you're building this? So do you already have it in place? Or are you building it as you speak?
So I have it in place. Ooh. It's growing as it speaks. Yeah. One thing that I want that's important for me to do in my business is to learn a new skill every day. Sounds crazy, right? But
it does sound. That sounds overwhelming to a degree, right? Or no,
because it's not what I'm doing; it's what I'm becoming, right? Oh, so I'm not trying to learn how to master AI. I'm trying to learn a new skill that will help me in my business. So I'll give you this example. I had a guy who told me he had 40 years of experience driving a forklift. I pushed back on it.
Okay.
Because it doesn't take 40 years to learn how to drive a forklift.
Right.
It takes about 2 weeks.
Sure.
You have 40 years of repeated experience.
Right.
In order for you to, it takes new skills in order for you to be able to do something and become something that you never have. And so I think a lot of times people sit and hang their hat on the fact that, well, I've got 30 years in the lending industry. I got 20 years in the lending industry, but you have no new skills. You have no new concepts. You have no innovative practices. You have no way to sit back and say, okay, here's what I did in 2024. Here's what I'm going to do differently in 2025 that's going to propel. Here's a new skill that I have that I didn't have 4 years ago in the business. And so I learn a new skill every day. I want to learn a new principle every day that's going to propel my business. And so I have the plan, but the plan is constantly evolving because I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm trying to figure out, okay, based off of what I learned today, this is going to help my 24 hours. Because I thought I had to focus an hour on this and I really only need to focus 15 minutes on it.
Right.
Simply because I've learned a new skill. But something else that I've learned is in business, it's very important to identify your strengths and your weaknesses. I put a lot of focus on my strengths. I contract out my weaknesses.
That's gold. That's good, isn't it?
If hypothetically, if you're worth $100 an hour, do not do $10 an hour work.
Right.
And do not spend 5 hours trying to learn how to do $50 an hour work. Pay someone to do the $10 an hour work so you can focus on the $100 an hour work.
Right.
And so I've learned what my strengths and weaknesses are, and I contract that out. I'm like, okay, nope, I can't focus. Like, I don't clean my house. My house is clean.
You're not dirty. You just have somebody like vacuuming and doing all the other stuff, right?
I don't clean my house.
Yeah,
I don't do my own laundry.
Yeah.
It is because I'm like, okay, my time could be better used elsewhere. And it's not a matter that I'm saying, okay, I want to take away that so I can focus more on business.
Right.
I want to take away that so I can focus more on business and my family. You know what I mean?
Of course.
I don't want my kids to be like, well, dad was at work for 12 hours and then he came home and, he got into military mode. We got to do this. We got to do this.
Right.
I still want to be able to, now my kids do their own, they clean their own stuff.
Yeah, of course. Right. Yeah. That's good.
But I just don't do it because I'm trying to figure out, okay, what is the best way to maximize my 24 hours? So that's something that I've mastered is like, should I focus on this or should I contract this out?
Right. And it's not to say that you can't learn it, right? Like that's the thing.
Oh, I know how to do it.
I tried putting a plumbing back in my sink probably 2 months ago, but it took me 5 hours. One loan would have paid paid a plumber to come fix that, right? Yep. So it's like, what was I thinking? I just felt like I needed to show my wife once again, trying to be that husband, right?
Because what I can do.
I mean, let's think I'm trying to learn her love language, right?
But that's an investment in your marriage.
Okay, all right, good.
That's an investment in your marriage because she's like, oh, that's sexy. Oh, look at that guy.
Yes, okay, that is it. That was because when I finished it, even though it wasn't actually right, it was still leaking. Yeah. she liked the concept of me trying, right?
Yes. So that was an investment in the marriage.
Thank you for reaffirming that because I was a little nervous. I got my man card taken away and everything. When you talk about your company that you're like, it's already open, right? Mm-hmm. So when did that start?
So that started in the late spring, early summer.
Okay.
So prior to this company, I have been with the same real estate company since I started in real estate, which love them. I've loved what they did. It was very important when I was with that company.
Sure.
I did everything. And what I meant by that is the managing broker used to say, hey, you need to have the admin do that. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. Like, and I was in, it's kind of like, well, I wasn't subcontracting that stuff out back then. Back at that point, I was in school, meaning I wanted to learn everything about the business.
Right,
I wanted to learn all the mechanics. Because I knew at some point I was going to transition out. I didn't know when, but I knew at some point I was. And with that company, at first, initially, I got a lot of, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Really?
No one does that way. Why are you doing, you can't do that. You cannot, we got to have a meeting. Rishawn, you cannot do it this way. And I would always end the meeting and they would say, well, I guess you can't do it that way. I guess. And then, or they'll come back months later. It was like, well, that's working. Keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Right.
Keep doing it that way. And so the company is up and running. A lot of different moving parts. I got in trouble with my admin today because they're like, you've got to start letting me do more stuff because like something had come across and I'm like, oh, it takes me 5 minutes to do it. Let me do it real quick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're like, no, you need to start like handing off where I'm like, I'm still understanding the subcontracting, giving stuff out.
Right.
But because I'm a servant leader, I'm like, I'm not going to make you do it.
Right.
Like, because I know it takes you an hour to do it. I'll just do it real quick. I just respond to it.
Right.
So I'm still learning. I'm still learning that, but the business is up and running. There is something else coming later in 2025 as well, which is exciting as well. But yeah, the business is up and running. We focus on everything real estate, residential, commercial, property management. We're also going to be having a something called Realestate with Rishawn, which people used to say, hey, you really should focus on like courses and classes for, clientele or whatever. And I was like, that's cool, but I don't want to do that. Like, or I don't want to do it right now. So we have courses and classes for children.
Really?
For kids, yes. So
that's awesome.
Every summer we partner with M&M Limo. We get a huge tour bus and we go on tour of properties throughout the Chicagoland area, educating them on home ownership. On the tour is myself. I have a lender, a loan officer on there. I have an insurance agent. I have an inspector. I have an attorney. And it goes back to becoming, right?
Right.
And the Bible says, until you have faith like that of a child, it is so easy to teach children things. When we become an adult, we have this mindset that like, oh, that's impossible. Like,
sure.
We're our biggest hurdle. Like we'll see something and like, no, I can't do that. Like you're your own problem. Children, they're just easy.
Sponges, right?
Oh man, they're easy. They're like, I could do this. I was the first person in my family to own a home. It wasn't until I was 17 years old that I found out that the home we lived in, we were renting. And I asked, because I see my mom write a check and get it to a guy. I was like, what is that? She was like, that's the rent check. I was like, wait, we don't own this? And she was like, no. And I was like, well, what do we get for paying? And she was like, we get to stay here. It just didn't connect. Like with me,
right.
It just did not make sense. And so we provide opportunities for kids to learn what we didn't have. I don't know if you've ever been an adult. You was like, if I could just tell someone this and not to make this mistake, it will, I did this when I was 20 and that really hindered me when I was in my 30s. So it is super nice. So this is all a part of my business. This is what we do as well. Do I get clients out of it? No. Like these kids aren't going to be like, put an offer on it. I want to buy the home. No, this really is an investment into our children that would allow them to know what we didn't know.
Right.
They know that the inspector is there showing them the different mechanics of a home. What is a water heater? What is a furnace? When should you change the filter?
That's super cool.
How old is the roof? All of this.
Yeah.
The kids must come in business casual. They got to dress the part.
Yeah.
And on the bus from home to home, we have a good time.
Yeah.
Got a little music going. There's a little party going, but the moment we step off the bus, it's business. And so that's what we do as a business. This is all what we're bringing to the industry.
Right.
Normally, people are like, I'm only spending time on what's getting ready to make me money. At the end of the day, one of the richest landscapes in the world is the cemetery. It's a graveyard. It's full of rich people that did not leave a legacy that superseded them. And so this is an opportunity for us to,
I was just going to say, the word I kept thinking about when you were talking about that was legacy.
Yeah.
And that's so many people, they just go after the dollar.
Yeah.
Which, like you said, you can't take that when you go.
Can't take it with you.
How are people going to remember you?
Never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a great, I'm just inspired by what you just said there. It makes me think twice about what I'm doing and with my kids. You try to focus on the home, right?
Yeah.
But then what are you doing outside the home? What are you doing in your community to help the rest of the people that may not have that education that people are helping out with, So it's like such a great thing.
Yeah.
Like I think about it, like when I first bought my house, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is a water heater? Like, where's the electric?
Yep.
You could see it when you're an inspector, like when you get your inspection, but even after that, you're scared because they're turning on valves that you don't even know what they go to.
Yep.
Right. So
I got an alarm in my house every 90 days. And I'm like, hey, Micah, go change the filter in the furnace, because I'm like, it's important for my kids, to know this, not just because of the mechanics of the home. You live here, but also, I want you to know what I didn't know, and it's not just related to the mechanics of the home, but it's related to business. Like my kids, I love my kids and they are sponges. Like if you just had a conversation with them, they would give you more knowledge on this podcast than I could. Like just because again, as adults, we have this roadblock where it's kind of like, nope, that's not possible. But like my kids, one is 13, one is 9. Like anything is possible to them. Like there's no roadblock and they're like, okay, this is how this needs to happen. This is what, and I'm like, I get a lot of inspiration from them. Cause I'm like, that worked. We have business meetings. Yes.
In your house you do?
In my house. Well, so if my accounting is watching this, so we pay our kids a certain amount of money to reduce, whatever. Yeah. So we have business meetings. My kids have to sign confidentiality contracts. I kid you not.
What?
I kid you not.
Wow.
If you were to ask them certain questions, they would say, we can't talk about this. So we have a business called RAM, or a holding company called RAM, R-A-M-M, Rishawn, Andrea, Micah, Mariah. That's me, my wife, and my 2 kids. And we have business meetings and we're like, so what do you guys think about this? Or, and my son's like, well, that's cool, Dad, but I think if you did this, and I'm like, and I may not always take their, what they say or their opinion, but it sparks something that I'm like, I never thought about that. Like, that's super cool.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Which I think is great. Back when we were growing up, I'm 50, you're 35, so I got a little bit of time ahead of you, but it's
a lot of time.
Yeah, no, thank you very little, Rishawn, but whatever. No, I'm just kidding. So, but we were always told what to do. Like because it goes back to the beginning of our conversation, right? We were told what to do versus really letting us have a voice as kids so that we could actually learn and work together with our parents at times,
And this generation is completely different. If you don't answer the question for them, okay, Google, okay, Alexa, these kids have an endless amount of resources where it's like, okay, I would rather you learn truth at this table than for you to learn it out. You know what I mean? Or for you to learn what's not true out there, but you take it in as truth.
Yeah.
So we have, we have family time, but we also once a month we have a business meeting with the family.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, anybody out there listening to this is a lot of gold that you have been just throwing down today.
Thank you.
Seriously. And I love the fact that you're a man of faith. You got that foundation there, and that you're a family man first, and then you carry that through your business model, which is a servant leader. And that's just huge. You don't see that often at all in this world.
It is literally all like it is. it is the becoming. Like when I'm telling you, and I don't want to be repetitive, but when I've stripped away the doing and I focus more on who I'm becoming, like and so even on social media, people are like, well, what do you do to get so many followers? Well, what do you do? I don't do anything. Like, I'm just me. Like, I'm me. I didn't go on John Doe's profile and say, oh my goodness, John Doe was doing that, I'm going to do that. I'm just me. Like, at the core of me, I'm very professional. I'm humorous. Like, that is who I am.
Yeah.
I don't fake anything. You know, one day I may be listening to Snoop Dogg. The next day I may be listening to Josh Turner, you know, baby lock them door. That is who I am. So I'm able to connect with a lot of people because that's just naturally who I am. And so it's like I take that and then that's what I just put that out in the world.
Yeah.
And so that is really what has assisted me in like literally every lane of my business, every lane of my life. I stopped focus on the doing. The doing will change.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, what I did didn't work. Let me do something else.
Right.
Oh, what I did didn't work. No, who are you at the core of your heart?
Right.
Like,
right. And you get to the point where you're like, it looks like you're just like, I don't care what people think.
Yeah.
I'm just being me.
Yeah.
Like, you can say whatever you want.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I'm just being me.
There's a agent, I can't remember her name, a real estate agent who promotes herself as the bad A realtor. You may have heard of her. That's her tagline.
Really?
I'm the bad ASS realtor.
Oh.
Works for her. Would never work for me. But I love it for her because she found something that worked. She wasn't being someone else. She wasn't saying, okay, I watch, $1 million listing. This is what they're doing. Let me do that. She was like, I'm in my lane. Like, I'm focused on my lane. And the first word of real estate is real. People want to work with people who are real, that they can connect with.
Right.
That's authentic. That I don't have to like try to figure out what are your motives. Who are you?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I connect with you. That's why I want to work with you. Like, and I may not be everyone's cup of tea. You know, people may be like, okay, yeah, I want to work with someone a little bit more reserved, a little bit more, and that's fine. Which is what I love in this new age of real estate, because you have people who's been in the business for 30 years. You have people who's been in the business for a year, and these new people are coming in with new concepts and they're doing stuff differently. I can't remember the guy's name, but we're connected socially. Nick, I can't remember Nick's name, but the way Nick does his social media, I can never do it.
Right.
But it works for him.
Are you Nick Gershon?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Love the guy. Love the guy.
I've done deals with him before.
Yeah. What he does, it wouldn't work for me. Like, it wouldn't work. So I would never look at him and be like, that's it. Let me do that. No, he just found something that worked for him. And so I think when people learn, like, okay, let me kind of examine me. Who am I? Like,
right.
You know, I was knitted. I hate to go here, but I always have to go back to the source. I was knitted in my mother's womb. The father knitted me. Right. Which means he didn't say, oh, Bill is coming down the assembly line. Hand me that template over there and let's just put some stuff. No, he literally took his time to create something that no one else has.
Right.
There is not another Bill. Like, there is no one on this earth that has what Bill has. And so now it just takes for Bill to be like, okay, what do I have?
That's good.
Who am I?
That's good.
How can I monetize that? How can I use that to grow my business? How can I use that to it versus just saying, I'm going to reduce myself to being a copy and paste of something else that I've seen.
Right.
So that's how I use, I use that in my business. I use that in my social media. And it works for me because I just don't stop being me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell. I mean, you're so natural in front of the camera, and you can tell that you are being you. That's what people love, working with people they know, like, and trust.
Yep.
And that trust is the currency of any relationship.
Yep.
So you're building that on your social media. That's why so many people are following you. So kudos to what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
We're at the moment of the show. I know it sounds like a drum roll, right?
Drum roll.
where I'm going to ask you 3 random questions, kind of like speed dating questions. So this is just random. You answer first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Okay. So, favorite food?
Pizza.
Pizza, that was quick.
And popcorn.
And
popcorn is a snack.
Together or separate?
No, separate.
Okay, separate. Like, send out a shout to your favorite pizza joint. Who is that?
They didn't pay me to do it. Next question.
Wait, what happened to the servant leader? Just kidding. Okay, so what do you like on your pizza then?
I'm a simple guy. Some days I like just pepperoni and sausage, thin crust. Some days I like more supreme.
Okay.
But I'm a real simple. My wife does some stuff with she'll put garlic on the pizza and it's just too much. There's some type of peppers she adds on there. Like she does an Italian beef on a pizza. And I'm like, that is gross.
Yeah.
But I'm a real simple guy. So some days it's either pepperoni and sausage or it's a supreme.
Okay.
Thin crust.
All right.
Yeah.
This is a question that my wife thought of, which I think is brilliant. But if you can meet anybody, whether it be the people you're leaving legacy with, like people like your kids,
okay,
or people in the past, relatives, ancestors, who would you want to meet?
Quincy Jones.
Well, but family-wise, though.
Oh, family-wise, in my legacy.
In your legacy, right? But Quincy Jones is good, too.
Okay. I think I would want to meet my, either my great-great-grandfather or my great-great-great. Here's who I want to meet. So I have flat feet.
Uh-huh.
I have 0 arch. I want to meet who's responsible for that. I want to meet who's
I love it.
I've got to go to my podiatrist. I've got to get special inserts.
Really?
I have 0. My feet are super flat.
Really?
I want to meet who's responsible for that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I want to hit him in the head one time and.
Kind of going off the Quincy Jones, because I know you like Quincy Jones. Mm-hmm. What question would you ask Quincy right now? That's coupled with a second question, but we'll get to the third one too.
The moment in your life that made you the proudest.
Really?
Curious. I would be curious to hear that. So I read when he passed away that he left a legacy, or that he left a legacy, but he also left a lot of money to his children. I wonder, did that make him proud? I wonder, having that, did that make him happy, or, was that an issue? Was that, having all of that? So I want to know, what was his most proudest moment? What made him proud?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Because for some people, seeing a certain name come up across your phone, it just makes your day. And I'm just curious as to a guy who had a lot of availability or a lot of access to a lot of things. What made you just proud, just happy?
Right.
Yeah.
What if somebody asked you that question? What would you say?
What makes me happy?
Or what makes you? What are you most proud of?
I'm proud of my family.
Yeah.
I'm proud of the man that I've become. If you look at the data, if you read my life from inception of when I was born to where I am now, the math doesn't math.
The math doesn't.
It does not math.
Really?
It does not make sense.
Really?
It does not.
Mine doesn't either, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I got chapters, baby.
I'm telling you, I told somebody, one day I'm gonna write a book or I'm gonna do a Netflix, because it will blow your mind.
Yeah.
The things that I've experienced and how I'm able to be in this place doing what I didn't have or providing what I didn't have. And so it's mind-blowing to me, man. Which is there is a God.
Right.
There is a God. So yes.
I've heard somebody say one time that it's kind of like you're underneath this tapestry, right? You're seeing all these knots of people you meet and, relationships or things that happen in your life. And on the other side, there's this beautiful painting of picture, like this tapestry, right? You don't know as we're walking through life, but he's got this beautiful picture that he's painting for you, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Last question, and we'll end it here, but what's one thing that you heard? What's the best piece of advice that you've heard from anyone?
Oh, man. So 2 years ago on Christmas, my grandfather passed away. I would say that he was probably one of the most wisest men that I had ever known. But he passed away when he was 88. He got his high school diploma at 86.
Oh, wow.
But one of the wisest, I'm trying not to get emotional, one of the wisest men that I knew. I still have voicemails on my phone of him.
Yeah.
Just so I can hear some of his wisdom, some of the stuff that he says. But there was something, I'm trying to see what I can share that's not too personal. But there was something that he told me was, be you and let the world adjust.
Mm. Yeah. That's good.
Don't adjust to what the world says you are. Be you.
Wow.
Let the world adjust.
Wow. Man. That's why I love this.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I hear something every single time. And I love it when people get transparent and they go right to the core of who they are. And you've done that today.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
I appreciate
We
you.
got to have you. Like, seriously, there's so much that we can unpack here.
I'm a retired country singer. I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back. I'm going to do a few selections for you guys.
All right.
I got a few questions for you. Dunkin' or Starbucks?
Dunkin' right now. Why?
I'm disappointed.
You like Starbucks?
Of course I love Starbucks. I'm only doing this because your producers gave it to me. But of
They
course.
didn't pay us. Don't.
Right? Let's turn that around.
Going back.
Turn it around.
Yeah.
Sam's Club or Costco?
Costco.
Ah,
Is that
like
good?
you.
Is that good?
I
Okay.
like
Only
you.
because my wife likes Costco. So
Okay.
That's happy wife, happy life, right?
Okay. Cubs or Sox?
Cubs.
I like you.
All right, good.
That's a good way to end the interview.
I love that. I love that. So if anybody wanted to get a hold of you, I know they can get on Instagram and see all of your 85,000 followers, but how can they get a hold of you if they want to use Rishawn Boone as their real estate agent?
630-723-4163. I have one phone. This is it. This is the same number that my mom calls. It is the number that is on Google. It is the number that is on my Instagram. You'd be surprised some of the stuff that people call. Like, someone called me last week and wanted to know if I wanted to buy an Xbox. It's like, wait, what? It was like, well, you buy homes. I thought maybe you wanted to buy an Xbox. I was like, what? But that is my number.
Did you say how much?
No, I didn't. I was like,
just kidding.
like, this is weird.
I know that's weird.
I probably have more people on my block list than I do that follow me.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to show you.
Okay.
I block a lot of people. But
don't block me, all right?
Of course,
all right,
no.
good.
No, you're my
just making
fave.
sure. Okay.
You're my
all right.
fave. 630-723-4163. Realestate at Rishawn. Realestate with Rishawn on all platforms. Realestate at Rishawn Boone is my email. And RishawnBoone.com.
And where's your office located in Oak Brook?
One Mid-America Plaza in Oak Brook. You know where Dick's is?
Yeah.
Right there.
Awesome.
Yep.
Love
right
that
across
place.
from the mall.
Beautiful. Well, we'll definitely
go buy
have
a house and then buy some outfits from Macy's. But go ahead. Yes.
Oh, totally. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Seriously, we're gonna have to do this again. I'm thinking maybe in the summer, when things start just blowing up in a good way, and
it's gonna cost you, Bill.
I know,
no,
right?
Free.
But yeah, we'll definitely do that. We got to get we'll get the email out to you, and then if you are interested in purchasing from Rishawn, you know where to catch him. Also, check out his Instagram. He's got some good stuff. He is leaving a legacy, and I'm inspired by him. So we'll see you on the next show.